Welcome to the Daily Decant, your 5-minute briefing on the world of wine. Each episode delivers practical insights to help you choose, order, and talk about wine with more confidence in everyday social settings. Let's get into today's decant. We are doing Port and Fortified Wines Week, and I want to start by describing the Douro Valley because the visual reality of it is the first thing to understand about these wines. The Douro River cuts through the high plateau of northern Portugal in a series of dramatic gorges, carving through ancient schist rock that has been terraced for viticulture over centuries. The schist, a hard, crystalline, heat-retaining rock, is what defines Douro viticulture, poor in nutrients, forcing vines to send roots deep in search of water and minerals, and heat-retentive in a way that allows ripening in what is otherwise a harsh, extreme climate of brutally hot summers and cold winters. The result is small, intensely concentrated grapes that produce wine of extraordinary depth and concentration. Port wine is made from a blend of indigenous Portuguese grape varieties, most importantly, Touriga Nacional, Touriga Franca, and Tinta Roriz, Tinta Barroca, and Tinta Cow. The fermentation process is brief and intensive. Foot treading in large stone tocks called lagares is still used at some of the estates for top wine, ensuring gentle extraction of color and tannin while maintaining fruit character. Fermentation is halted partly by the addition of neutral grape spirit, stopping the yeast activity while significant residual sugar remains. Producing the characteristic sweetness of port, the wine is then transported to the lodges in Vila Nova de Gaia, across the river from Porto, where it ages under the controlled conditions that determine the final style. The style spectrum. Ruby port is the youngest, freshest, most accessible style, aged briefly in large tanks or barrels, maintaining bright red fruit character, typically sweet and fruity with relatively modest complexity. This is the entry-level port most people encounter first. Late bottle vintage, commonly abbreviated LBV, is ruby port from a single year that has been aged 4 to 6 years in barrel before bottling. Richer and more complex than standard ruby, offering good quality at a reasonable price. It's the most practical everyday port for those who want quality without the aging requirement of vintage. Tawny port is the style that reveals what long oxidative aging can achieve. Aged in small barrels called pipes over many years, the wine gradually loses its red color and develops the amber tawny hue that gives the style its name, as well as a completely different flavor profile from ruby: dried fruit, walnuts, hazelnuts, caramel, orange peel, and dried flowers. The 10, 20, 30, and 40-year age designations on tawny port labels indicate the average age of the blend, not a specific vintage, and represent a ladder of increasing complexity and price. A 20-year tawny at around $30 to $40 is one of the finest and most dramatically underpriced wine experiences available anywhere. Colheita is the single vintage tawny, same style of oxidative aging but from a declared year, typically more complex and more expensive than blended tawny. Vintage port is the pinnacle of the category and one of the most age-worthy wines produced anywhere on earth. Made only in declared vintages, years the producer considers exceptional, from the finest estate fruit, aged briefly in barrel and then bottled early while still deeply colored, tannic, and powerful. It requires decades of bottle aging to develop fully, and a great vintage port from a great year can evolve and improve for 50 years or more. Grams, Fonseca, Quinta do Crasto, Ramos Pinto, Quinta de Vesuvio. These are the producer names most associated with serious vintage port. For the practical buyer, a Grams LBV at around $15 to $20 is the entry point. Their 20-year tawny at around $40 is the revelation, and a single Quinta vintage port at $40 to $80 is the introduction to the age-worthy top of the category. One thing I want to emphasize, port is not just a dessert wine or a Christmas drink. The drier, nutty styles of tawny port are outstanding aperitif wines and pair really well with cheese, nuts, foie gras, and charcuterie. Vintage port with a strong blue cheese, particularly Stilton, is one of the great classic pairings in the wine world. In a chilled 20-year tawny on a warm afternoon, slightly cooler than room temperature, is one of the most satisfying and complex wines you can pour in that context. The challenge with port is that most people encounter it only in cheap room temperature form and form an impression that bears no relationship to what the category can be. So this week is an invitation to start over. Tomorrow we're going to talk about sherry. You won't want to miss it. That's today's Daily Decant. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe and share with your friends so you can continue building your wine knowledge in just a few minutes a day. We'll see you tomorrow for the next Decant.